Hello and welcome to 21 Questions. My name is Mike. I run trivia shows and I'm very glad you're here. I will just say I had a look just before I started recording this episode. There are people in over 40 countries watching this show, which is crazy. Let's go. Question 1. In darts, what is the highest score a player can achieve with 3 darts? That would be 180. Question 2. Which video game company produces the consoles the Wii and the Switch? That'd be Nintendo. Man, the only time I've ever got 300 on 10-pin bowling was on a Nintendo Wii. Never done it in real life, never got close to that. Question 3. What did Paul Hogan promise to throw on the Barbie to entice American tourists to Australia in an advertising campaign from 1996? Well, he said he was going to throw another shrimp on the Barbie, which is not something we generally say in Australia, but you know what, Hogs? Take that paycheck, big guy. Everything's fine. You clearly needed the cash. Question 4 is always a true or false in this podcast. True or false? In 2006, Bee Gees singer Barry Gibb bought a house from Johnny Cash only to have it burned down a year later. Is that true? Is that false? Well, sadly for all concerned, that's actually true. Barry Gibb bought it. He was in the final stages of having it renovated, and a wood preserver caught fire and acted as a massive accelerant, and within hours the entire house was gone. Barry Gibb, of course, is the last remaining member of the Bee Gees. He's still touring these days, but now he's just billed as the Bee Gee. The songs are still pretty good, but the harmonies, not so much. I'm going to hell. I'm going straight to hell. Anyway, question 5 is a player question. Now, that's a new thing. From now on, the player questions will be in the show itself rather than an add-on at the end. This comes from Glenn, who asks the question, how tall is or was E.T.? Now, I'm assuming he means the movie character and not Andrew Eddinghausen, the former Australian Rugby League player and TV host. For the record, though, the footy player is 182 centimetres tall. But E.T., as in from E.T. the extraterrestrial, I'd better give you multiple choice, actually. E.T., is he closest to 70 centimetres, 90 centimetres, or 110 centimetres tall? How tall was E.T.? E.T. was actually 91 centimetres, so 90 centimetres was the closest to those options. Unusual fact, one of the actors who played E.T. was a guy called Matthew Demerit. He was 12 years old and he was born without legs, and therefore he was perfect to fit into the costume. He would walk on his hands in that particular costume. True story. Question 6, sometimes referred to as a talking or spirit board, what 5-letter name is given to a board allegedly used by psychics to contact spirits and other non-physical entities? Now, it's written O-U-I-J-A, but it's pronounced a Ouija board, and apparently it's bad news to play with those. I never have. Question 7, is the world's largest department store Shinsegae Centum City in South Korea or Macy's of New York? The world's largest department store is in South Korea. Well, look, I'll try again. Shinsegae Centum City. It's 11 stories high. It is massive. Having said that, my heart belongs to Macy's in New York. I bought jeans there years ago that I still have and that I just love. After question 7, we do the first clues for the Who Am I? Who am I? I was born in 1968 in Melbourne, and I grew up around actors because both my parents worked in television. In fact, years later, my dad and I appeared on the same show, and that was the show that made me a household name. I landed my first TV role at just 11 on an Australian TV show called Skyways, where my on-screen sister was played by a girl who'd go on to become one of the biggest pop stars in the world, that being, of course, Kylie Minogue. Not a lot to go on there. Do you know who that is yet? You absolutely will by the end. More clues after question 14. For now, though, question 8. What, starting with G, is the process of rendering iron rust-proof? That's galvanizing. Question 9 is another player question. It comes to us from Gareth, who is an interstate truck driver. He said he's at a rest stop in Alice Springs when he sent me this particular message. Love that, Gareth. Thank you very much, mate. His question is, which 4-letter French word denotes a chef who is an assistant to the head chef? That's very highfalutin, Gareth. Good on you, mate. That's Sue, S-O-U-S, sous chef. Question 10. Which novelty basketball team travels the world playing against and usually beating the Washington Generals? That's the Harlem Globetrotters. Fun fact, they turned 100 this year. The Harlem Globetrotters have been around for 100 years. I saw them play at Festival Hall in Brisbane in like 1985, and that night was particularly important in the Globetrotters' history because it was the first time they had a female basketballer playing on their team. There you go, I was there seeing history being made. Question 11 is another true or false. True or false? Joel Madden is the lead singer of Blink-182. Well, that one is so easy if you know it and a mystery if you don't. That is false. Joel Madden is with Good Charlotte alongside his brother Benji. Question 12. Who was the last Australian to win the Wimbledon male singles title? Hint, it was back in 2002. That was Leighton Hewitt, as in, come on, that guy. That was him, Leighton Hewitt. And his son, Cruz Hewitt, is kicking butt right now. He did really well in the boys' version of Wimbledon. He's 17, Cruz. He made it to the final, couldn't quite get over the line, but he's one to watch for the future. Last question 13. Did the American gangster Al Capone operate mostly out of Chicago or New York? Al Capone, he was a Chicago gangster. Question 14 is another player question. As I said, I'm trying to get through them. Peter sent in kilometres, which is wider, Australia or the moon? That's a great question, Peter. Australia is actually wider than the moon. Australia is 4,000 kilometres across versus 3,400 kilometres, which is the distance across the moon. And not to big note, we have 28 million more people than the moon does too. So there. More clues now for the Who Am I? It's the guy born in Melbourne, family were in TV, actor himself. Who am I? Kylie Minogue and I reunited a few years later on Neighbours. Our characters fell in love and got married, and the wedding episode was watched by millions of fans in Australia and the UK. While still on TV, I signed with the same hit factory producing Kylie's music. That was an organisation called Stock Aitken Waterman. And my debut album, 10 Good Reasons, went on to become the best-selling record in Britain the year it came out. In 1987, Kylie and I released a duet, Especially for You, and it shot straight to number 1 on the UK charts. I had 4 chart-topping singles and later took over the lead role in Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Now that's getting pretty easy now. Do you know who that is? I think you might, and if you don't, the last set of clues probably won't help. Anyway, they'll come up after question 20. For now though, question 15. Which fruit traditionally fills the centre of a black forest cake? That would be cherries. Question 16. In computing terms, what is a universal serial bus better known as? That'd be a USB. A USB. Good. Question 17. Which brand of sports shoe was first sold in 1964 under the name Blue Ribbon Sports? That would be Nike. And fun fact, the Nike logo, they paid the graphic artist for that the equivalent of about $300, and it's still used today. Having said that, they also gave her Nike shares, so she's all right. Thank you very much. Question 18. What type of animal is also a variety of moth, shark, snake, and prawn? The animal whose name can go in front of all those things is the tiger. Tiger moth, tiger shark, tiger snake. Say it with me, tiger prawn. Good-o. Question 19 on this podcast is always, is still alive or not so much. I give you a name and you tell me if you think that person is still alive or not so much. Today, Charlie Watts, drummer for the Rolling Stones. Is Charlie Watts still alive or not so much? God love him, Charlie Watts passed away a few years ago. It was quite a big deal at the time, but if you're not a music fan, you probably wouldn't know that. And you probably won't know this next one either, because question 20 is always a music question. Question 20. Which 80s band was George O'Dowd the lead singer of? That'd be Culture Club, where he was called Boy George, and he still is. Final clues now for the Who Am I? If you remember, it's the actor Joseph in the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, did a song with Kylie. I think we know who it is. Who am I? I was the voice of the Quizmaster Buzz on the PlayStation game of the same name and recently toured the UK with a show called Doin' Fine Encore, sharing personal stories, showing archival footage and performing some of the biggest songs of my 40-year career. My first name is Jason. I am Jason Donovan. Now, fun fact, if you watch the I think it was 1988, might have been 87 movie Blood Oath, Brian Brown's the lead in that, you might catch Jason, and if you look very hard, you might spot a very young me. It was one of the first movies I ever did. Alrighty, that is 21 questions done and dusted. Now, every podcaster asks you to do this, but if you could review the show, just giving a rating on whatever podcast app you're listening to now, that really helps me enormously. And I'm trying to get my YouTube channel off and running. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll probably note that I'm wearing the same shirt that I wore last episode, and I will be wearing it in the next episode too, because I record 3 in a row. Now, my mate won't like that. He's going to come at me and go, "You got to change your shirt for each episode." But he also told me I should wear makeup when I'm filming. So no, I'm not going to do that. Anyway, if you're watching on YouTube, if you could comment something, that would be very, very helpful too. This podcast comes out every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. I'm really enjoying bringing it to you. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Mike van Acker. I love you. Catch you next time.